One night when I was about 16, I was walking home from a friend's house. I lived in a quiet suburban neighborhood with wide, empty streets and houses that looked the same. The kind of place where everyone knew each other, and nothing ever really happened. I always felt safe walking around at night, especially because my house was only about 10 minutes away from my friends. It was a Friday, and I had stayed out later than usual. The streets were practically empty, except for the occasional passing car. I had my earbuds in, listening to some music, not paying much attention to anything around me. I was just walking along, lost in my thoughts, when I heard something behind me. It wasn't a car or a person, but the distinct sound of footsteps. At first, I brushed it off, thinking it was just someone else walking. But the more I thought about it, the more uneasy I became. I glanced over my shoulder, but there was no one in sight. The streetlights flickered in the distance, casting eerie shadows on the pavement. I shook off the feeling and kept walking, but the footsteps started again. They were faint at first, just a tap, tap, tap on the sidewalk. I couldn't tell if they were getting closer or if I was just imagining it, but now I was sure someone was behind me. I pulled out my earbuds, trying to focus, but the footsteps kept pace with mine. I sped up, walking faster, my heart racing. I stopped for a moment at the corner of the block, trying to catch my breath and get a look behind me. My street was completely empty. No one was around, but as soon as I took a step forward, the footsteps started up again. Tap, tap, tap. They were right behind me. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. Someone was definitely there, but I couldn't see them. I looked up ahead, but my house was still a few blocks away. I started walking faster again, then broke into a jog, my heart pounding in my chest. I could hear the footsteps matching my pace. Whoever was behind me was following me. At this point, I couldn't ignore the feeling of dread crawling up my spine. I turned down a side street, hoping to lose them, but the footsteps didn't stop. They were still right there. I could feel them. A few seconds later, I stopped and spun around, facing the empty road behind me. There was no one there. I thought I was losing my mind. I turned back to continue on my way, but that's when I heard something different. This time, it wasn't just footsteps. It was breathing. It was a heavy, labored breathing, like someone had been running or was trying to catch their breath. I didn't dare turn around again. I ran. Full speed, my legs burning with effort, my lungs desperate for air. I was only a few houses from home, but the sound of the breathing followed me. Close. Too close. When I finally reached my house, I slammed the front door behind me, locking it. I leaned against it, trying to catch my breath, my hands trembling. I looked out the window, but there was no one in sight. The street was quiet, as if nothing had happened. I tried to convince myself I had just imagined it. Maybe it was just my mind playing tricks on me, the result of too many scary movies. I went to bed that night, exhausted but shaken. It was hard to fall asleep though, with the thought of someone following me still lingering in the back of my mind. The next morning, I went outside to check the street, hoping it was all just a bad dream. But when I walked out to the sidewalk, I froze. Right there in the dirt, near where I had been walking, were fresh, large footprints. Footprints that didn't match any shoes I owned. And they led straight up to my front door. I don't know who or what followed me that night, but I'll never forget that feeling. The sensation of being hunted. I never walk home at night again, and I always make sure someone knows where I am. To this day, I still hear the tap, tap, tap of footsteps behind me when I'm walking alone.